Have you ever heard of fatty liver disease? It is a condition that affects millions of people worldwide and is unfortunately on the rise. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about exactly what it is, what the consequences of it are, and most importantly, what you can do to prevent it and improve your health. Hey there, I'm Dr. Anna. I'm a medical doctor, and on this channel, you're gonna learn how to master your health with the right moves. So let's dive right into talking about what fatty liver disease is. So the scientific name for this is hepatic steatosis, and this occurs when fat starts to accumulate or build up inside of the liver. Now, the liver is an organ that's really important for our metabolism, and the liver is located just next to the gastrointestinal tract. So its job is to help regulate a lot of the different absorption of nutrients from food while we eat, but also to do lots of other things. It helps regulate our glucose metabolism, it helps with fat metabolism, and it helps us break down toxins, like alcohol, for example. So the liver has lots of roles in our body. And when fat starts to accumulate, it can't do its job very well, and it causes a lot of problems in our health. Now, when it comes to hepatic steatosis, there are really two different types. There's alcoholic fatty liver disease and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So these two conditions are completely different. And of course, the alcoholic type is caused by excess and chronic alcohol use. Instead, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is linked to other conditions of metabolic derangement, things like obesity, type 2 diabetes, and insulin resistance, and metabolic syndrome, when we have lots of these different metabolic conditions overlapping and seen in a patient at the same time. So we're not really going to take that much time to talk about alcoholic fatty liver disease in this video because it's a lot more straightforward. Instead, the more common one, the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, is what we'll focus our attention on here. So here's what you need to know. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is the most common chronic liver condition in developed countries today. Like I mentioned before, it is often associated with obesity, type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome. So what happens is when the liver's functions are impaired here because fat is building up in the liver, it can't do its job in regulating fat metabolism. And it's kind of a vicious cycle. Fat starts to accumulate because the liver cannot regulate the metabolism of fat. And the more fat accumulates, the worse the liver is at metabolizing fat overall. So if this is left untreated, it can spiral kind of out of control. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease can then develop into more severe conditions. So one of these conditions that it can become is called NASH, N-A-S-H, or non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. This is an inflammation of the liver that, if going untreated for a long period of time, can then lead to cirrhosis, which is where the liver becomes what's called fibrotic, hard, and it is totally dysfunctional, or even in the most consequential circumstances, becomes liver cancer. Now, believe me, nobody wants to get any of these diagnoses. They're devastating and can even be life-threatening. And a big challenge is that often people in this situation really need a liver transplant. And if any of you have ever heard things about liver transplants before, it is really hard to get on a transplant list. There are just simply more people who need transplants than there are people donating healthy livers. So believe me, if you can do something to prevent this from happening to you, wouldn't you want to do it? So some of the other consequences of having these conditions. As I mentioned already, regular non-alcoholic fatty liver disease can worsen and develop into other conditions, such as liver fibrosis and liver cancer. But it's not just wreaking havoc on your liver. Unfortunately, there are other consequences on different parts of your body as well when you have these conditions. So it's known that having non-alcoholic fatty liver disease can also increase your risk for cardiovascular disease or heart disease, as well as diabetes or even other types of cancers. And the progression of simple fatty liver into the NASH, the steatohepatitis, or even the cirrhosis, which is where the liver becomes hard and fibrotic, that is particularly concerning. It is considered a sort of pathway that once you're on the trajectory, if you're not getting it in check and getting it treated, you will progress and the condition will worsen. Now, I hope I'm not scaring you in this video. I just want you to know the information you need to be as informed as possible. So hopefully this video has been providing you value so far. And if it has, please subscribe to this channel because I'm here to dedicate my time to give you the tools you need to stay as healthy as possible for the long term. Now, here's the good news in all of this. I hope you're not thinking that this is a big doom and gloom situation, because the truth is, when it comes to fatty liver, there's a lot that you can do to prevent this from happening in the first place. If you are already dealing with fatty liver, it's now better understood that there are things you can do to decrease your risk for it progressing and potentially reversing this. So what are these things? Here's what you need to know. If you're hoping to prevent fatty liver from happening to you, the best things that you can do are to eat a very healthy and balanced diet. And a balanced diet in this case would be a diet that's very rich and abundant in lots of healthy plant foods. Things like vegetables and fruits, whole grains, legumes, which are beans or lentils, and nuts and seeds. Lots of plant-based proteins are considered some of the best sources of protein for your health. But as well, there are other things that are healthy for your body. Things like fatty fish with essential nutrients like omega-3 fatty acids. Other foods that are sources of lean protein could be eggs, certain dairy sources like a Greek yogurt, or even some types of lean poultry, chicken or turkey, for example. And then leaving red meat for special occasions. This is considered a very healthy, balanced approach to eating that is good for reducing chronic disease burden. And one of the approaches that I really like to teach people is the Mediterranean diet approach. It encompasses all of these foods. It is very easy to cook, and there are tons of simple ways to get started right away. I have a lot of information on this channel, so make sure to check out my other content after this if you're looking for that. So the name of the game with healthy eating is to reduce inflammation and to decrease the burden on your liver of inflammation overall. Eating healthfully is one great way to do that, but it's not the only way. As well, regular exercise is very important for regulating our metabolism, staying healthy and fit for several of our organ systems, and the liver also benefits from this. We want to make sure that we're getting at least 150 minutes of cardiovascular exercise a week. This is going to be activities that get your heart pumping and increase that heart rate. Things like dancing, swimming, biking, jogging, you name it, any of those kinds of activities that you like. But it's also really well known that weight training is super important for our metabolic health and is very important for organs like the liver too. So making sure that we're getting some of that resistance exercise into our normal regimen can be very good for your body and help reduce your risk for a lot of different diseases. Part of the reason this is thought to be is that when it comes to healthy muscles and healthy metabolism, it really helps to regulate our blood sugar. And we know that blood sugar regulation is crucial for avoiding things like insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes, which are in and of themselves risk factors for fatty liver disease. So along these same lines of making sure we're eating a healthful diet and making sure we're exercising enough, maintaining a healthy weight is very important. It's important for our metabolism and it's important for our liver. If you need some extra support for that, there are so many amazing resources out there. Talk to a healthcare provider, a friend, a family member, and check out the other content I have on this channel for ways that you can start applying healthy habits now. I hope that it's helpful for you. And as I mentioned, blood sugar regulation is in and of itself something that you can do to help decrease your risk of fatty liver disease. So if you are somebody who has diabetes already, or you have been, for example, diagnosed with prediabetes, and this is something on your radar, make sure to get those regular checkups with your doctor and manage that diabetes as best as you can. If you need a medication, take a medication. If you want to do it full-on lifestyle approach, talk to a provider so that you can come up with a plan that will work for you. No matter what you do, as long as that blood sugar is regulated well, you are doing your job to help decrease your risk. But that's not to say that only people out there with diabetes, for example, need to be thinking about this. In fact, we all need to be thinking about this. Blood sugar regulation is important for all of us throughout our lifetime, so getting that regular blood work can really be a lifesaver. So the last thing on this list, and I just have to mention it because it's so important for our liver, is to avoid excessive alcohol consumption, especially over the long term, but even in short bouts. Now, what's starting to be better understood is that the limit for alcohol that's considered healthy has historically been about 1 drink in a 24-hour period for women and 2 drinks for men. There is actually some debate if this is still good advice for the general public, because what's starting to be understood is that perhaps the limit should be changed and we should make it 1 drink per 24-hour period for all people, men and women. What you need to know is that the best thing you can do to decrease your risk of any type of liver disease and many other types of disease in general is to decrease alcohol as much as possible. The best thing to do is to completely avoid it. Now, I know some of you listening to this are thinking, oh, that's not going to be possible for me. That's totally okay. Talk to a healthcare provider so that you can come up with a plan for how you can manage your alcohol intake if you are concerned about it. The name of the game here is to prevent ourselves from having problems that are really hard to reverse once they start. So the more educated you can get early on in your health journey, the better off you're going to be. Now, I'd like you to comment, share below with us. What steps are you already taking to help decrease your risk for fatty liver disease? Which of the things that I mentioned are you already doing well, and which ones are you struggling with? Share with us below, because this is a vibrant community of healthy people, and we are all here to support each other. Now, if you are finding this video useful so far, and I hope that you are, please share this with somebody you care about, a friend, a family member, a loved one. All of us need to be aware that there is risk in certain types of lifestyle behaviors, and the more educated we are, the better we're going to do. So let's spread this message around. Now, for a lot more practical and simple ways for you to get jump started on your health, I have tons of videos on this channel breaking down how to approach healthy living, how to think about healthy living, and simple things like improving your diet. Jump into that content. I'll see you in there.